anyone, anywhere has the potential to change where they live. Communities can turn themselves around.
He said that we couldn't do it, and he was like, when are you going to start? And I was like, now.
Just don't give in, never surrender.
Take the little steps first and then go on to the bigger steps. And then in the end, you're going to be, on top.
In the summer of 2011, a bold scheme's been pioneered, driven by the big lottery funds, People Power Change and Your Square Mile. Communities across the country have been tackling perennial challenges by breaking them into bite-sized solutions.
You can't take a successful project in one local area and then say, fine, and what we now like is we want 200 of those.
Number 2 on the left-hand side to number 64 here, and from number 1 on the right-hand side to number 45 here. I'm a street rep for all these houses.
You need local leaders doing it their way in their unique style. You can transfer their learning, you can transfer tools, you can transfer grants, but you can't transfer the local knowledge.
The idea is simple. Focus on the square mile you live in, come together as a community to identify the problems you face, and then try to get at least one practical solution off the ground.
Your Square Mile is an accelerator, it's an enabler. It will hopefully make more of this stuff happen faster than it otherwise would do.
This film follows just some of the projects that Your Square Mile has been supporting this summer in 16 communities in the UK. Wigton is a vibrant market town in rural Cumbria, but it also has its fair share of social problems, with high unemployment, poor connections and physical isolation.
In Wigton and surrounding areas, the villages surrounding never seem to get anything, so we seem to get forgotten about.
Wigton made headlines in 2004 as one of the first towns to implement a curfew for young people. It lasted only 7 days, but there's an enduring sense of mistrust between the generations.
Folk think if you've got a hoodie on that, you're just there to cause trouble and stuff like that.
Can't really go anywhere now without getting told to move on or something.
Sam works at the local youth station and sees firsthand the destructiveness of boredom.
We haven't got a cinema, we haven't got a bowling alley, we haven't got, there is nothing for them, so I don't know. I think that what they tend to do is just gather on the street, which is obviously classed as antisocial behaviour, and that's when the police disperse them and they end up meeting up again, but out of view of the community, out of view of people, so they'll be in the park or hidden down a back alley or something. So we obviously provide a place for them to come in here, but we're only open certain hours.
Sam wanted to do something positive for the town's youth, and the meeting seemed the perfect opportunity to gain community support.
We're proposing a youth-led annual event focusing on celebrating youth and Wigton itself. It's aimed at bringing generations together, bridging the gaps.
Sam's idea for a music festival was voted one of the 5 key projects. The only snag, it has to be completely led by teenagers.
I think because I want the young people to do it, so it's sometimes even more time-consuming and frustrating at times because you are trying to take a back seat and let them lead it.
He won't do it, he won't. No. He'll come back next week, he'll have drew it on his way down here from school.
To do all that in 4 months, I think the whole team is going to be pretty crazy.
It's a world apart from the Cumbrian countryside, but in the boundary neighbourhood of central London, the problems aren't too dissimilar. Youngsters with not enough to do, and a reputation that intimidates others in the area.
Kids don't have respect for anything, have they?
We normally cross over, rather than sort of walk into trouble, you avoid it.
Abu and his friend Rayhan didn't want to intimidate anyone. They just wanted a better football pitch.
We've been playing here since the age of 10, 11, and Well, I was playing here a bit younger, probably, about 7. Younger, and the pitch was bigger, so you could fit more people in. And they renovated it. That's a good thing they renovated it, but they've made it smaller, so less people can play now, so not that many people can play.
The Your Square Mile meeting was in their local community centre, so they turned up.
We heard they were giving money away, so we went.
Rubbing shoulders with the older, white East Enders was a bit of an eye-opener.
It so happened to be I was sitting on a table with these two old pensioners. They were talking about their problems, about where they live, and they live next to Columbia Road, where kids were, like, you know, getting drunk and smoking drugs and stuff like that. And they said they were scared to actually, like, come out at night. So
Abu suggested a project that he felt solved their problems and his. A youth club in the disused 1 o'clock club.
A later youth club, like maybe from 9 to 11 for the 20-year-olds, while we have it from 5 to 7.
And Rayhan suggested improvements to the football pitch.
So if they make it back to its original size, 16 people can be off the streets again playing in that pitch, other than 10.
So Abu and Rayhan won community support. Unfortunately, some of the local parents have already started renovating the 1 o'clock club, and they don't like the idea of a group of teenagers moving in on them.
See, because I have a child, I might be fighting you for that building.
You can't get along, you know. It makes life just a whole lot harder.
You know, you're walking into a lion's den of really challenged, tough communities with some entrenched positions and a lot of despair, a lot of isolation, a lot of drugs, a lot of crime. With a lot of surrounding hostility, and people's answer is just to not go there.
In Gorleston-on-Sea near Great Yarmouth, Anthony knows what it's like to live in a town without hope.
Well, from experience in the 80s, most of the people I grew up with moved away. The Great Yarmouth area was probably the most impoverished part of the east of Eastern England.
It's awful around here. But all they ever say is, have you got experience? But how can you have experience if no one give it to them?
My son was 17 and he moved to London and he regretted it, and he's 27 now and nothing here for him at all.
As I haven't got any employment at the moment, I felt that my life is being wasted in some way, so I need to actually push something forward which will help me to actually grow, and also help the young people of the age range I'm trying to help to actually build a confidence as well.
So he's proposed a building project, creating a drop-in centre and residences for young people.
When we got to present projects, he stood up and articulated this very interesting idea, which I still think is probably one of the most imaginative, challenging projects that we have. So this idea that you could take an area of disused land and convert it into something where young unemployed people could be apprenticed by local builders to build their own affordable housing or their own affordable facilities on that site.
I like this particular location because you've got half is industrial estate for employment on that side. You've got, to the east, you've got the high street, and the main road over there leads to anywhere in the world.
It's ambitious, but is it too much of a big idea for little Gorleston?
The upper part of the site suddenly dips down into a crater at one end, which I would like to have as a music venue, but I mean, I've got big ideas, haven't I? Or maybe even a structure, like a little Eden project, maybe.
Retired aircraft engineer Derek Williams spends time looking after his neighbours.
Hi, Norm. You all right, love?
Oh, well, it's lovely to see you.
But he wants to go further than this and actually heal the rift between the older and younger generations.
Cheers, cheers. The council should never have put young families in the area so much as they have, with 3 children, more or less each, with older people. I don't know the woman's name next door. And she says she'll come here and she'll knock my door for a shilling for the television, because they got the television on a slot.
Yeah.
And I don't see them after. I don't see the pound notes, and I don't see them until they want it again. But I don't know her name.
His plan is to use gardening as a way to reconnect people.
One of the action plans we're going to get is for the children of the school to do a gardening club. The community needs something, especially the old-age pensioners up here who can't afford a lot. Really can't afford a lot. We want them to take a bag of potatoes around, a bag of carrots around, or something like that around, and get involved themselves. So at the moment, there's a lot of people up here, a lot of the old-age pensioners think, well, it's an age-old policy, they're nothing but troublemakers. And we don't want that.
As Derek gets his raised beds ready, the music festival in Wigton seems to be heading in the right direction. The steering group are off to the Mayor's office to ask permission to use the park they've pinned their hopes on.
We'll have to make sure that we can definitely use the park, so then we can then start organising other things to go in it.
It's not actually somewhere that events normally take place, but they feel that it's a more secure area and it's the right size for what they want, and that belongs to the town council, so it's them we need to ask.
They're greeted by the deputy, who's supportive, but worries they've bitten off more than they can chew.
I'm looking at what you've got here, and you're talking about September, and I don't want to dash anybody's hope, but you've really got to start. If you want it for September, you've really got to start putting time into it. Because if you get it wrong the first year, if you get it wrong, it won't happen again.
With this reality check, they leave the meeting disheartened.
It's going to be too much planning, I think.
Look at the face on you.
Well, that was so... He might as well have just said no.
Yeah, but don't feel like that, because do you know how he made me feel? Like, I'm going to prove you wrong, matey. So who's in favour for going for it then?
Me.
Going for what?
But I have a feeling that it won't be planned in time.
I will. I think we might have to make it a little bit smaller though.
With all the obstacles they face, if this project fails, the team's confidence could be crushed. In Boundary, Abu's getting a crash course in local politics.
I think they've gone kind of cosy, if you know what I mean. They've got, obviously they put up the sign, it says community garden, they painted it, they painted the inside, they've done all the garden work. To them, I think they think it's as good as theirs, you know.
Abu would like to share the space, but an initial meeting went badly.
I did come with about 20 of my friends, and they did come about with 20 of their people. It was like battle. We were having a battle.
This will require dialogue between groups who don't usually talk.
You have to break down the barriers between the Bangladeshi community and the white community, because the majority of the people in there are white.
Community gardens, youth clubs, festivals, homeless housing, all tangible aspirations of people power given a spot of direction. But these are tough economic times, and sometimes it's just about hanging on to what you've already got.
Welcome to the Mckay Hall. Come on, sling your hook up here, we need you sitting down.
That's polite.
There certainly is.
People-powered change isn't new. Here's a community that's been doing it for years.
Now I need you to do something for me.
Oh.
Just say aye. Just say aye.
Just say aye, OK, aye.
Aye, so that's fine.
The nan-mckay Hall is owned and run almost entirely by volunteers.
It's when you find those individuals who have the energy, who have the ideas in an area, who want to take control and make things happen in a way which really understands what's going on in their local community.
When we come up here, there was nothing, this hall wasn't here, and there was nothing to do.
If it wasn't for this hall, I don't know what they would do, with no shops, no health centre, nothing here.
Could do without it, but we can't see if we get anybody to give us some money to build a new one.
The Porter Cabin is a disused classroom donated to the community 30 years ago. It's damp, cold and expensive to run, but they use every inch of it. Your Square Mile is helping Bill apply for funds for a new building nearby.
He's got a passion for the place. Don't get working otherwise. The house falling about, you know. But you'll fight tooth and nail to keep it open.
And up to now, we're still here, 30 years. Watch this space.
In Gorleston, Anthony's building project for young people could do with a kickstart. So a visit's laid on from Tony Gibson, an old hand at community planning.
I understand that you're interested in
a building.
His workshops are designed to bring everyone to the table and promote action.
A lot of people feel marginalised by the fluent talkers. They're left on the edge because the talkers always win.
Laundry. They might not have a place to actually wash the clothes.
Using a model, people using their hands, is a very good example of what works. Once you get people to do that, they're actually working alongside each other, as opposed to attacking each other.
Therefore, you don't have, we've found, people who just sort of sit in the back and finally walk out because they're filled up with all the talkers.
Inspired by the workshop, Anthony hits the street to test his idea on young people.
Well, I'm trying to build a social club on the waste ground over there, and also I want to do a self-build project as well, so you'll be able to build your own residence.
Pretty cool, actually, yeah.
It's a weird little house.
Yeah, I've always got a dog, yeah. They all know me. Your ideas are important. I mean, I'm getting on a bit now.
You notice that the kids won't be getting in trouble when they all build too much.
It's a place where you just go sit.
Yeah, that's what I'm proposing. Social club.
Yeah.
Back in Boundary, Abu's persistence has paid off.
Hi, Yuki. How's it going?
He's partnered with local youth group No Boundaries, and some negotiation from the older generation has brought everyone to the table.
I think initially I thought how would you use a space where toddlers sort of would play and teenagers would hang out, because I was a teenager too once. Sort of working with No Boundaries, I've learned an awful lot about the activities that they already deliver and would be able to sort of deliver here and expand here. That reassured me quite a bit. I don't know, toddlers can make bigger messes than teenagers, I think. One thing I've learned.
It would be a fantastic way of having a creche and a youth facility amalgamised in one, but set at different times, getting the whole community together for one aim, you know, to make this usable for everyone.
Yeah.
And if there's one community which needs bringing together, it's Boundary.
The community was a majority Bengali community back in most 5-6 years ago. Now, a lot of the white community are coming in. People that we never used to see who used to live in the community now are starting to come in more, trying to get themselves involved. It's a recent thing and everyone's just getting used to it.
It's good to get to know people around the area, isn't it? Like, half the people that joined to the 1 o'clock club and whatnot, like, we've never seen them in our life. We used to come here, play when we were younger, we didn't see no one. But now they've started utilising the space, and if we can share it with them, we can get to know them. Probably learn a bit of gardening. Wasn't it?
You're going to be big like him one day.
Are you going to come to
What I'd hoped and what we'd hoped as a funder was that through people power change, communities of all distinct dimensions, young, old, black, white, religious, would come together in different ways because they'd actually gain a sense of what is common.
Back in Glencoch, it's the wrong season for veggies, so some of the school children are picking Norma flowers.
Hello, Mrs. Lott. We would like to present you with the flowers which we've picked from our school down the bottom called Craighurst Primary.
Oh, you're so kind, and I haven't got very nice flowers in the house because the weather's so bad. Thank you very much.
And
What's your names?
Mine's Morgan, his is Morgan, his is Kyle.
Oh, thank you both three. Thank you very, very much indeed.
And we've been doing quite a lot of gardening down our school,
Yes,
and we'll be
I've
growing quite a lot of vegetables next spring. Maybe if we grow some vegetables, would you like some?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll deliver some to you next spring.
I never had really much time for this estate. A lot of vandalism, a lot of trouble, and I didn't really want to get involved. My outlook on Glencoch has totally changed. It's totally changed because, all right, we've still got the trouble, we still got the minority that's causing the problem for the majority, but we can sort that out. And at the moment, I'm enjoying living here. Don't sit on there, you'll have wet behinds. Because in the summer, this will be your new classroom, one of your new classrooms, okay?
What's been fascinating about the Your Square Mile workshops and the pilots as they've gone forward is to see people waking up to the fact that their area doesn't have to be as it currently is. I mean, I think we all do this. We all walk around our neighbourhoods or you know, scurry down streets down our neighbourhoods and think essentially, well, they're rigid, they're stuck. There's little me, there's, you know, political power, there's other kinds of power, there's businesses who've got influence, there's some way in which planning works, but I don't get to vote, I don't get to change, and neither do my kids or my elderly parent or whatever. And once they get out there and there is this sort of physical, visceral thing, once they start working on that, working literally with their hands with other people alongside them, then they have this tremendous sense of being able to change things. And I think that is the answer. There is no industrial fast solution. There is no solution that will take place in a time frame that suits a politician or a journalist, because it takes 20 or 30 years for a Balsall Heath or a Newham to start turning round. That's the history. But it does happen, and it's exciting, and it's about getting off your backside and changing things rather than thinking that you're a victim.
This spring, Sam went along to a local meeting which was championing a straightforward idea. What could the community do to change itself with a little help? A few months later, and Wigton has its own festival.
Feels really good because it's a success so far. Excited.
The youth here once had curfews. Now they're running their own event.
He said that we couldn't do it, and he was like, when are you going to start? And I was like, now. And we got back to the youth station, started right then. That was it, every week, every day, just got it done.
There's a lot to do. We didn't realise how much there was.
We've used sort of local suppliers. I mean, obviously all the bands are local. And just all the marshals and all the parents and people from the community have come to set up all the tents. Sort of 7 o'clock this morning, they're all here in the rain.
It'll just be something different because there's not much happens in Wigton, is there?
You know, one of the reasons for doing something like this today is because there's so many people with that mindset that young people are the problem and, you know, that they need to be contained or whatever it may be. And it's events like this that show that actually that, you know, they've got a lot of positive things to give and that they are interested in the community, but not perhaps in the way that other community members want them to be. You know, they've got their own ideas.